Hello, true believers. Okay, so this is a little late as far as my recap of the half marathon I did uh, now almost 2 weeks ago. But the reason it's so late is actually we got generic medals at the end, and they were sending our real medals, and they're supposed to be engraved with our time and everything on it. And I was really hoping I'd have it in time to do this to show you guys, but I really also wanted to get it done before I run my next half marathon, which is going to be on Sunday. So that's 3 days away. Today's Thursday, November 7th. Yeah, the full marathon 3 weeks ago, half marathon a week ago, or 2 weeks ago, and a half marathon this weekend. The days are sort of running together. Before I get to that recap, you guys know speaking of the full marathon I did 3 days after my birthday, I did it on October 20th. It was my third full marathon. And it's for a wonderful cause, the Louisville Dream Factory. It's the previous review that I discussed on there. Well, these thank you cards went out to everybody today. And check who, hopefully this comes in not too blurry, check out who's that middle dude right there. Um, I I think that's pretty cool. Not from a big ego standpoint, but from an honored and very humbled standpoint. To be truthful with you, I saw it, and if you follow me on any of my social media things, you've probably seen it on all of them in the past couple of hours. I thought that was pretty neat. I was very. It's kind of nice, I guess, but I did look at that picture, and the first thing I thought of was I really got to work on smiling some more when I'm running 26.2 miles. Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, let's go over the Republic Bank Big Hit Half Marathon shirt that says finisher down the side, and this is the medal. So I really, even though I was 6 days removed from a full marathon, I had felt pretty good. Went to the chiropractor like I always do, middle of the week. Had really picked up. I think I'd run probably about 10 or 15 miles total that week. I took a couple of days off, did some 5 miles and everything. Just really wanted to keep my legs loose. I didn't want to get so tight and so post race that I wasn't able to really get up for this. And then in the back of my head, I think I'd said this at the end of my recap from the marathon. And in my head, it was really a private thing. But I thought the best way to keep myself accountable is to start making it publicly known. I really wanted a sub 2 hour half marathon. I just wanted that on my running resume, for lack of a better term, and it was a personal thing. At this point, I had only run two other half marathons. Big Hit, obviously, being one of them. 2 years ago, 2000, and it was the first year of it excuse me, 2011, and also the half marathon I'm running this Sunday, the Louisville Sports Commission half marathon. Its first one was 2 years ago, and that's the other half marathon I've run too. And obviously losing the weight, the 70 to 80 plus pounds, depending on what time I decide to weigh myself from last year. It's either 80 pounds if I go from like my birthday, uh, or sorry, earlier last year, or if I go for my birthday, it's like 70 pounds. So, and just seeing the speed coming where, my training runs in smaller distances average, little under 7 minute miles. My long runs, I'm controlling them at like an 11-minute mile. And that's having to really slow down. I said, and then coming off the full marathon where I'd taken, over 40 minutes from last year's time and over an hour from my first marathon the year before that. And I said, I just want a sub 2 hour marathon. It wasn't a comparison to anybody else. It was just my own thing. I just wanted that barrier broken. So, but during the week, I almost gave myself an out. And I think a lot of times, and this is a really powerful lesson, a lot of times when we set goals, we mentally give ourselves outs in case we don't meet them. We give ourselves out so we can give ourselves an excuse in case we fail, and feel better about ourselves, and not really feel so bad and say, oh well, if I didn't make it, and if I didn't make it, I have reasons why I didn't make it. And I really wanted it. I've really been focusing on staying away from that negative voice in my head during races, during training, during daily life, to just shake that off and just no, this is what we're doing. We've put in the work. You know, uh, Trust the process and enjoy the results. I like to say that over and over. or believe in the process and trust and enjoy the results. And so I said, okay, I want a sub 2. And I knew that meant 9-minute miles, which 3-4 miles, a 9-minute mile is actually, I can knock that out. Running with my dog, it's not that big a deal. 13.1 miles at a 9-minute pace consistently was going to take some effort, for lack of a better term. So I said, this is it. We're I had told myself definitely a couple days before, sub 2 hour, just sub 2 hour and enjoy it. It's not sub 2 hour and obsess over it, but sub 2 hour and we're going to enjoy this. So race morning came. I'd gone to packet pick. I've got my stuff. I'd forgotten because originally my wife and I were going to run this together, and I was going to really aim for a personal best in this half I'm running this weekend. But with her being pregnant, she didn't want you, and I completely understand that. So I had forgotten that on our racing bibs, she had put Superman and Wonder Woman. Mine said Superman, her said Wonder Woman. So I picked them up, and that was a nice little nod. Of course, got my Superman shirt, and I said, all right, we're coming. I said, this is it for real. This is it. So we line up at the starting line, and they've got the corrals, and as they've got it broken down with 8-minute mile pace, 9-minute mile pace, 10-minute mile pace, and so on to I think 13 or 14. I don't know. I stopped looking. And then you see the pace leaders come up, and they've got the little purple balloon with the pace 2 hours or 3 hours or hour and a half or hour. So I see the pace group, and I see the 9-minute mile corral, and suddenly I'm like the shyest little kid trying to ask a girl for a dance. I'm kind of just sheepishly walking up, and I don't really want to stand in the crowd because then I'm a real runner. And I know that sounds absolutely insane. Almost 40 plus races, you guys can't see over there. Well, let me show you the wall of stuff, and here I am, really was just scared to line up in that 9-minute group because it was for real then. And so I kind of stood to the sidewalk somewhere between the 9 and 10-minute, not really a part of the crowd, just sort of okay, stay in your own head, stay in your own head. And I don't run with music. I used that time to focus, and I don't need music. I don't want to be dependent on music because heaven forbid. And I've seen it happen to so many people. And I've stopped. I think after my first year as being a runner, I had really cut music out altogether. I've seen it happen to people at too many races, and especially here in the Louisville, Kentucky area, where spring and fall could literally have a 20 to 30 degree change, as well as flash flood to no rain. And I've seen so many people where their music cut out or they weren't able to use it because of the weather, and you see it on their face, their breathing is labored, their cadence is off, and they're completely off their game. And that's when I said, I'm not going to listen to music anymore. So I don't now at all. So I said, okay, got our Nike watch on. We know what we're looking for. We're going to do this for real. Okay, got in there, got that first half mile in, looking down, and I'm having to tell myself to slow down because now I'm looking at 8.5, 8:15-minute mile, and I was like, don't do it. Just believe in the process, trust the result. Believe in the process, trust the result. So I'm doing it. Right about the first mile, I felt pretty good. I didn't feel overly winded, didn't let what I call the race turbo get into me. The pace leader for the 2-hour group comes up. They come up, and he's got 3 or 4 people with him. Ironically enough, he's got an older gentleman wearing a Batman headband, and his race bib said Batman. I'm not one to believe in signs, but that was good enough for me. So I said, I've never followed a pace group before, all the way through, and I said, I'm gonna stick with them. With again, giving myself an out. Oh, if it gets too tough, I'll do my own thing, but I'll at least stay with them as long as I can. Again, giving myself out in case this was going to be a tough thing. So I said, all right. And I said, talking to him, I said, can I join you guys? He said, yeah. We was talking to him. He was like, oh, he saw my shirt. He was like, oh, it's great. Pace leader was a great guy. He's like, oh, we got Superman. We got Batman. I just did the Iron Man. So we got the whole Avengers Justice League thing covered. So we're all laughing and we're going. And I, I'm looking and we're running. And not only I'm not going to say it was easy. I'm not going to insult the process, but I kept up with it. And not only did I keep up with it, I kept a conversation pace because we were talking about everything, family, everything else. So I'm looking down my watch and I said, all right, we have 5 miles done. And I got some kick left. There's some still there's some nitro in the tank. Not just gas in the tank, but there's some nitro in the tank. I'm still feeling good. So we hit halfway point, and I promise you, it felt like it was no time at all. We hit halfway. So it's it's 13.1. So you're talking 6.55, 6.5 miles. I was according to my watch, it was like exactly an hour. So I'm like, holy, wow. I'm like, wow. I'm like, I just knocked out a 10K, which is 6.2 in less than an hour. I'm like, okay, this is, and again, what was amazing me, I don't know, that may have been improper grammar. What was blowing my mind was not the speed or the pace that I was keeping, was how I felt. You go out and if you're a runner, you can put a pace on, and that's it. That's what you're staying with. But when you're dragging, when the glycogen tank is empty, when there's not enough fluids in your system, but you are pushing. I never felt like I was pushing that point. I felt very comfortable. We were still talking. So about miles, and at this point, we're going by so fast, I really don't have enough time to pull my phone out of my fuel belt to text my wife like I always do to keep her updated where I am, to say halfway through. So I said, you know what? I know what I'll do. Because her and the girls had come there. I knew they were at Slugger Field, which is the baseball. Obviously, we're Louisville Sluggers. Bats was our minor league baseball stadium. Beautiful stadium, by the way, right on the Ohio River. I knew that they were there, and they were inside playing. So she just, to keep her updated, I said at mile 10, when I basically have, a 5K to go, when I have a 5K to go, I'll let her know then, because then she's going to know to expect me in less than a half hour. She can get the girls together. They can start getting down to the finish to start seeing me. So we're going. And about mile 9, I think, I think I believed, and I know that's odd because at this point I'm looking at this and I said, I'm really going to do this, and usually in races, I've always said this before, there's a point where you run the distance in a race, and I don't care if it is a 5K, I don't care if it's a 1 mile fun run, I don't care if it's a 10K, a 10 miler, a half marathon, et cetera, et cetera. There comes points in that race when you realize you're going to finish. Because up to that point, you're just running sort of like, okay, I'm going to see how this goes, or at least that's how I do. And then there comes a point in a race where I go, I'm really going to finish. I'm going to do this. Well, this was different. This came a point in a race I said, I'm really going to get this goal. And I realized at this point, I think I'd taken a couple of gels, and I think a little bit of water, but I've conditioned myself enough that I could go out and run a half marathon and not need water. I've tried to get to that point, so I don't need to carry a bulky fuel belt. My fuel belt's the very thin one, the flip belt. I was trying to see if it's down here. The belt that's like a thin thing. I really just have my phone, and I had a couple of gels on the side. I said, all right, we're gonna, I said, because they were serving cups, and I haven't mastered the art of running and drinking with the cup at the same time. So there's a couple of times I sort of had to stop, do this, like the couple of times I did drink water and then throw the cup away, because otherwise it's, like I told you in the race recap, it ends up being a shower because it's everywhere. So I said, okay, I said, look at my phone. I see we're up 9.85. I remember I said, let me just reach for my phone now. So unzip, reach back, text my wife, mile 10, I'm coming home. Like I always do when I'm close, because that's my wife, Damari, and our daughters that's home to me at the finish line. So I'm coming home. So I put it away, put it in my bag, zip it up. That's it. It's 10 miles. And the pace guys, again, he's like, how are you guys feeling? I said, good. I said, he goes, we're going to do it. I said, I've always wanted this. So we're coming down, and now we're starting to hit some hills. And I knew from experience of running, and I was wait to see race time, was that for me to keep that overall 9-minute and under 2-hour pace, when I hit hills, whether they were the gradual inclines, which I actually think are the worst hills to run on because you're just suddenly in a gradual incline, or they're the steep ones, I knew I needed to keep it at a sub 10-minute per mile pace when I hit those hills. It didn't need to be slower than that. And I've learned that if my strides are pretty much, this is, one foot, this is the other foot, this is pretty much where my strides stay. A lot of people will start taking really long strides, and that's why you get so winded and tired when you get to the top of a hill and you've used all this energy. But if I keep my strides close to me, keep my cadence close to me, relax my shoulders, never look down, just look straight, and just keep churning my legs, I find that I can attack a hill and not only get past the hill, but get past it not feeling exhausted and feeling refreshed. So then when I'm going downhill, it doesn't feel like such a please don't fall, please don't fall, please don't fall. And I'm putting all this pressure on my quads because I'm trying to break myself, but it just feels more of a natural motion and I let gravity help me. So then when you come to that straightaway, you're not so gassed out and you're like, oh my goodness, why am I going so slow? As much as it's just a continuation of what I've been doing. And I can open up my stride a little. So I was keeping 10 minutes or less on the hills and I felt good. So this was probably about mile 12 now. You know, I'm looking at my watch. I'm like, this is impossible. And pace leader says, he goes, how much? And at this point, our pace group has really fallen off from probably about a dozen of us to there's 3 of us in the pace leader left. And it's the same, you know, it's the 3 guys that probably were the most quiet, myself included, were the most quiet when the conversations were going on, and most, you know, focused in doing this and just not really, like a lot of the other people were sort of, and we were just sort of doing our thing. And I said, you guys still here? They're like, yeah, we're still in it. We're still in it. And the pace leader said, how much do you guys have left in the tank? And I kind of did. I've used this analogy before where I look at my body sort of like the Starship Enterprise and my legs are the engines and photons and phasers. And I check and I go through the system check to make sure where I am. And I said, I think I got a kick. I said, I don't know if I got more than one, but I got one last kick in me. I got one more in me. And when I said that, we have to come up on a little bit of an incline for about 100 feet. And then that's Preston, where it's actually the finish for previous other races I've run. And then it sort of goes downhill right into, they bring us in through center field of Slugger Field, and they extend out home plate so huge, and that's where we finish. It's awesome to finish on home plate because they on the announcer like round in third base and coming home is Corey Queen. I thought that was cool. So he said, all right, do as much as you can. Let's just go. So I'm thinking in my mind, man, because the guys I'm running with are all runners. This guy was amazed that I had just run a marathon last week, and he's going to run Indianapolis Marathon the very next weekend. He had run Louisville Ironman run. He had done Louisville Ironman. So I said, all right, I figure, and these other 2 guys are, you know, real athlete. I don't really consider myself an athlete. I know that's odd, and I'll probably get comments for that, but I just don't yet. I don't know if I ever will. I consider myself persistent. So not really an athlete. That's weird. Semantics, I guess. So, you know, there are 2 guys. They said, yeah. So I start going. I said, all right, I'm just going to, I got a kick. I'm just going to, you know, you go until the gas tank. My thing was go until the gas tank's empty. And hopefully I've crossed the finish line at that point. So I just said, go. And I realized at that point, of even the 2 or 3 people that were with, I'm still at the Illuminate Head, and the pace leader with me. He's like, go, come on, you're almost there, you're almost there. So we're coming in to center field, and you hear the announcers, and you see that finish, and we're coming around center plate, and we're coming down the third base line. And I just went with everything I had, and people were cheering us on. And I got to the finish, and I stopped my watch, and I'll include some of the pictures, a couple of the pictures below at the finish. But there's a look on my face, and that look on my face is you think would be sort of chest thumping, like I'm the man. That look on my face was pretty much on all of them was the fact that I did it. The clock time said an hour 59. My watch had said an hour or something, and they gave us instantaneous, so it was an hour 50. And I'm cheating as I look at the thing. It was an hour 57. So I did it. I got my sub 2 hour. And all of the process of that was good. I got it, and I felt good. That's the crazy thing. Again, I felt good at the finish. I didn't feel like I wanted to bend over or puke or die or take a nap. And I mean, I felt great, but I was just in amazement. I mean, I really nailed a sub. I've been a runner for 3.5 years. My first race as I started, as I'm looking over, was April 10th, 2010. And that was literally a week after I decided I was become a runner. And I did a 5K in 48 minutes. And here I was doing, you know, that's 3 miles. And here I was doing 13.1 in less than 2 hours, just 3.5 years later. And I'm going to include the picture below, but I love this fact. This is my certificate from when I did this in 2011. And as you see, my time was 2 hours 30 minutes with an 11:28 pace, 747th overall, 437 out of 436 for my gender, 88th out of 94 age group. And I was pretty proud of 2.5 hours because my first half marathon. There was no reason to. Well, this is from this year. 157.41 and 8:59 pace, 280th overall, 188th out of 359th in gender, and 32nd out of 56 in age group. And I'll put a picture up that I actually put the two of them together, and it's not bad. I mean, I'll take that. I'll take that level of improvement in 2 years. It's kind of nice. It's really kind of special. The girls are there, and of course, I'll try to include also the video of me finishing that my wife took, and I walked up, and I kissed each one of them, and I've looked at the video a couple of times, but the look on my face as I'm looking at my wife, and I'm like, did it. I did it. I'm like, no excuse, no, oh, I only did it because I was able to. No, I did it. I did a sub 2 hour half marathon. And I did it to the point where I can do that again. And this race on Sunday has severely more hills to it. We run through, and this is the first to Cave Hill Cemetery is opening up their grounds. So we're running through Cave Hill Cemetery as well as Cherokee Park, which is very hilly. And I'm melancholy about the whole thing because I want to step to Cave Hill's where my dad's buried. So other races have run around Cave Hill, but this is the first time I'm going to run through it. Not really, and it's early in the race. I believe it's around mile 3, so I'm not really sure I'm going to handle that part of the race till I get there. But I mean, it's now I have it in my head. I don't have an excuse. I ran a sub 2 hour half marathon 6 days after running a full marathon. I cannot make an excuse for some hills after a 2-week rest period. I can't make it. There's no way. I mean, I'm sheepishly excited about the prospect of doing this and the fact that I get to run past Dad, directly past Dad, not just around Dad, and I really just want to do this. I know some friends of mine that are doing it with me, and people are talking about, hey, how's this going to work? And are you? A lot of people are saying, oh, they weren't prepared. They're not really prepared that much for it. Or people are talking about, it's very hilly. And I just said it's the same thing. If I hit the hills and I got a 10-minute or mile or less, 10-minute mile or less pace, it's hard to say, on those hills, and I even out everything at a 9-minute pace, I can get this. I can get another sub 2 hour. And that's really what I'm aiming for. I can't make an excuse now. If you have success in something, you can't make an excuse for not trying the next time you have the opportunity to. In anything in life, job, being a father, being a husband, being a parent, being a wife, being a brother, being a sister, being a friend. You have some success, you can't make an excuse and go back. It's just, we're not built that way. God didn't make us that way. So I really want the 2 hours. I really want the sub 2 hour half. That race, the last time I ran it in 2011 also, I had a 2 hour and 35 minute and 54 second finish. So I'm curious when I print those up and I show you guys. And I'm also going to put a picture on here that I felt very internally proud about. I mean, it really felt my chest. I did put it up on my social media, but just felt very proud as I have a picture of me at the finish from doing the big hit in 2011, and I have a picture of me at the finish from this year, and just the weight difference and everything else. That felt very special to me. I think sometimes when you're, and this is a shout out to a friend of mine who I follow her blog and try to leave comments when I can, and she's very good about leaving comments on mine. You guys can see in previous things, Melissa. Hi, Melissa. She's a bodybuilder and she's a mom of four, and she's amazing. She's Superwoman. She's a highly inspirational person, and I'll actually include a link to her blog in this. Um, she transforms her body all the time, and sometimes you don't realize, especially she's a woman she's doing this right after she gave birth to the fourth baby and after the third as well, and she's pregnant. When you transform your body, is sometimes you forget how great a job you're doing, because it's your body. It's the only body you know. It's the skin you live in, and you don't walk around with a picture of you before. You just see what you see now, and when you see what you see now, all you see are flaws in yourself. We do, and I shouldn't say you. We all I see are flaws in myself. I don't see. I forget. Yeah, I forget that while I'm looking at a flaw in myself, I'm wearing a size large shirt that, or a shirt that a friend had sent me. I wore it recently that last year didn't fit. Or when I'm wearing my compression shirt, like my long sleeve or even my Under Armour Superman shirt, that it's loose here, it fits well here, and now it starts to fit tight. Just show off for a second. Now it starts to fit tight here in the arm area. Like that's I love that. And I forget that. I forget to acknowledge that I've put in the work and I'm seeing success, and not little success. I mean, I'm seeing milestone marks here. So like I said, I hope in the next couple of days, if I finally get the new medal, I'll put a picture of that too, as well. But like I said, I mean, I took yesterday, Wednesday, and taking today off from running because I kind of burnt out, and my Body Fit Media and my Fitness Pal told me I had nearly not had enough protein the past couple of days, which is why I felt a little sluggish. So there's chicken breast and tuna and hummus and peanut butter all in my next couple of days menu for sure. Not at the same time because that's just nasty. All of the, to get ready to get my glycogen levels and my protein levels and everything in the tank ready to put out an effort for Sunday. It's really special. I'm really hoping this happens, and I'm really hoping this happens. No excuse. I'm going to give it everything I have because that's the only way I know how to. I don't half-ass things. I mean, if I'm going to be right, I'm going to be all the way right, and if I'm going to be wrong, I'm going down in a blaze of glory, and I'm going to be wrong. But I'm not going to do it half-ass. So thank you for listening to this. Hope you guys are all having a wonderful, wonderful day, a wonderful weekend, and God bless each and every one of you. So until the wheels fall off, I'll see you for the review when I do my review for the Louisville Sports Commission Half Marathon. I'll do that next week. Thank you very much, guys.